Greetings and welcome to Smartwatch Ticks, where today we are going to tackle the two most asked questions we receive in the comments at our YouTube channel. The very top question, asked every day, several times every day, is are the bands removable or interchangeable on these smartwatches? And there's multiple answers to that. It basically depends on the watch. If you have a high-end Android standalone watch like this number 1 D5 Plus or this Finau X3 Plus, then no, you cannot change the bands because there's antennas integrated into them. No, folks, you're not going to be able to replace the bands on these Android watches. But this video is not about that. This video is about the second most asked question, which is, what about battery life? Tell me about battery life on these smartwatches. How long will they last? How often do I need to charge? What else should I know? Here we go. You ready? If you don't have your watch yet, that's a good thing, because when you get it, I want you to open the box and take it out. Take the charger out. Do not turn it on. Leave it off. Put it on the charger, and then go plug it into the USB connection, okay? And charge your watch fully. The best thing you can do for your battery is to set it up properly from the beginning. So, your battery comes with a certain amount of charge, from nothing to a little. Charge it up. I know the temptation is there, but don't turn it on. Charge it for 2 hours, then turn it on. Then you're going to be doing a lot of stuff. Let it run all the way down to just about empty, and then charge it back up to full. All right? Don't run it a little bit and then charge it. Run it a little bit and then charge it. You have to calibrate that indicator of how much battery is left versus the actual battery that you have. They learn about each other over about 5 cycles. So discharge it all the way down from using it, and then when it's almost empty, charge it back up again. Do that if you can 5 times before you start charging it whenever you want to, when it's only partially drained. Best practices, all right? All right, now let's begin. I've loaded this thing up with everything you can throw at it to chew away at battery time. The number 1 D5 Plus will get you about 3 hours worth of battery life if you do all the bad things I've done here. I'm going to show you how to change that from 3 to 4 hours to maybe a day and a half, maybe 2 days. It requires you to do some conservative measures, but they're worth it in the long run. Let's begin. Here's what you can do first of all. You want to go into the watch, make sure you're connected to the internet, go into settings. From settings, you want to go all the way down to about the device, and then you want to hit wireless update. It's going to tell you what your current version of firmware is in here, and it can use a concept called OTA, which means over the air, to update the watch. Now, many times, battery issues are discovered after manufacturing, and they're fixed through updates to your watch. So you want to hit the check for updates, and if it tells you you have one, install it. Make sure you've got a good charge on your watch first, okay? If, like this, it tells you that it's up to date, then you don't need to do any more updates. But check it periodically, because a lot of the times battery issues can be related to firmware, and they are fixed by the companies behind these high-end watches. Your smaller ones, you know, your little tethering sports watch or fitness watch, it's probably not going to have that capability, but the high-end ones definitely will. So that's the very first thing you want to do. The second thing you can do is address the biggest power-hungry thing in the entire watch, and that's the display. Look how bright it is, isn't it? Gorgeous, beautiful, and eating power like nobody's business. Press and hold your watch. It's different now for different watches, but you're going to find where you can tune down the brightness of your display. Here on the D5 Plus, I just simply hit 1, and it changes the brightness to the lowest as possible. Okay? That's probably the biggest thing you can do, is lower the overall brightness of your watch. If you want better control, you can install an app called Display Brightness. That, you've seen in many of my videos, gives you a little slider thing on the screen that you can use to adjust the brightness up and down. And the first thing you can do is put a limit on that, so even when you brighten it all the way up, the maximum it can be is, say, 85%, 90%. Just doing that will give you hours of extra battery life. Leaving it on number 1 whenever practical, especially indoors, is great. Only go to the higher brightness, ideally no more than 2, if you're outdoors. But keep it on 1, all right? While we're here, let's cover this one. This is that fun little thing that when the watch is off and you just turn and look at your watch, it'll turn it back on for a few seconds and then turn it off. Yes, that eats power. Not a whole lot. But if you really don't need that feature, you don't look at your watch that often, just turn that off and it won't happen. That's your sound. Sound takes up very little battery. But if you're looking at conserving absolutely everything, go into silent mode. Silent mode, no twist to turn on your watch. You know, it's doing that all the time whenever you turn your wrist, whether you're looking at it or not. So if you don't mind just tapping the button to see the time and tapping it to turn it off, then disable that, and that'll save you some power. That's good power management right there. But wait, there's more. Look at the display we have going on here. Bright. That eats up a lot of light, especially on the AMOLED displays, where each pixel is powered separately. Don't use an animated display. That's eating up a lot of your CPU. And on these higher speed plus watches where you got quad core, you're using a lot more of your processor, which is, of course, eating a lot more of your battery. So the best thing you can do to conserve battery, if you're looking at that's your objective, is go to a very simple watch face, mostly black, with just a little bit of white for the hands. Oh, boring. I know, but if that's what you need to see the time, that's the lowest you can get. You could also look for some digital displays that don't have a whole lot of brightness in them. That's kind of dim. This is one of my favorites. It shows a lot of stuff. It's mostly black. You can see it easily in bright light, and with the brightness turned down, you still can read the time. So choose your watch face carefully. That's how you can conserve battery. Okay, that's probably the biggest stuff. Now, that's the, I don't know, you've heard that 80-20 law? Maybe that's 80%. The rest of it, 20%, is incremental. What is that? Well, come up here. Make sure that you have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi turned off whenever possible. Just tap it, turns it off. If you're going out on the town and you don't need Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, turn them off. Only turn them on when you need them. That will save those radios from constantly transmitting. Speaking of another thing that's constantly in there eating battery power, it's your GPS. Unless you really are an advocate of going out and hiking or using your watch for Google directions or something, you probably don't need to have your GPS turned on. So go into your settings, go into connectivity, and look at them all. Bluetooth, verify that it's off. Uh-oh, look, it's actually on even though we turned it off over there. I'm going to turn the whole thing off right here. Swipe down to get out of here, go into Wi-Fi. That's actually off. That's a good thing. Okay, make sure that's off. You got to be careful when you swipe down that you don't hit the button and accidentally turn it back on again. You could turn airplane mode on if you want to. That makes sure all your radios are turned off. We'll do that in a moment. We're going to go to GPS. GPS is that high accuracy mode that Google just loves because they track everywhere you are, report it to everybody under the sun. Turn it off. Leave that off. Only turn it on if you need it, really. Of course, no Wi-Fi hotspot. That eats up your battery. Virtual private network. That has to do with having your SIM card in. And going into airplane mode. That's wonderful because that ensures that all of your radios are turned off, in addition to you having turned off the concept of turning them on through GPS, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. Now your watch is silent. It's a nice watch to be used infrequently for checking the time when you tap the button and tap it to turn it off. It's not going to wake up on you and interrupt everything, and all of your radios are off. Ready to squeeze out some more? Let's do it. Notice I turned it on by pushing the button because I don't have the flip and lift thing going anymore, and the watch is going to stay on as long as it needs to according to the setting that you have for the timeout. Well, obviously, the longer it's on, the more battery it's eating. So we go into our settings. We go into our display, and you want to go in here to sleep and change it to the lowest setting possible, 15 seconds. You also, while you're here, could go into the brightness level if you want. Remember we had the 1, 2, or 3 button you could choose to lower the brightness? It's still not the lowest it could go. You can actually lower it down that low. At night, that's great. In the day, it's a challenge. But if you're really trying to save money, well, power is money, right? And power is what we're talking about. If you really want to save power, and notice 15 seconds it went off, you can do that. I am not going to do that because I need some brightness to show you the video. But that's what you can do in the display section right here. So I'm going to take us back out of here to another thing. When we scroll to the very bottom, and again, this operating system happens to be for the D5 Plus or the D5 or the Fine-Owl watches. All of these really work the same. When you scroll to the bottom, you can go to recent apps and you can close them one by one, or you can say close all. That's a good practice to get into too, so no apps are running in the background. Another thing, some of the apps I like to install, like display brightness I was talking about, where you have the little slider on the side, they actually run in the background as soon as you boot up the watch, and they're always on. Now, that's a good trade-off because it lets you adjust the brightness on the fly. But there's some other ones that can run in the background that will actually eat power. Have you ever heard of a thing called Facebook? That is probably the most power-hungry app and largest one that you can install to eat up your memory. If you don't need Facebook, uninstall it. WhatsApp, uninstall it. Twitter, all the social media things, unless you really, really need them, I would say uninstall them. At a minimum, go in and turn them off. And you want to install something, which is right here, Settings Search. Make sure you install Settings Search so that you can, and that's from the Google Play Store, so that you can go into Applications. And from here, you can, in the apps, go all the way over to All Apps. Here they are. And you can either uninstall or disable some of the ones that came with the watch already pre-installed, like possibly Facebook. Things like this, Bubbles, I believe that's an active wallpaper. Of course, you never want to use active wallpaper if you're trying to save battery, so you could uninstall or disable that. Well, we know WhatsApp came with it, right? That's down here somewhere. If you don't use WhatsApp, if you're not going to put a SIM card in this, if that's something you just don't play with, then by all means, uninstall it. WhatsApp. You see, I can't uninstall it completely, but I can disable it and uninstall the updates. So you can force stop it for sure, but when the watch boots up, it'll probably be active again. Looking to see if you have connection, polling to see if anybody's sending you messages. Totally useless if you don't use it, but eating battery. So go through your list of apps and make sure, don't undo or disable certain things that you need, but just the standard common ones. If you're not going to use the weather app, for goodness sakes, force stop it and try not to actually activate it, because it's going to go out and look for updates for your weather. And if you just look outside and see if it's clear or raining, hot or cold, that might be all you need. If you're after saving battery, this is a place to do it. But you can only get into this kind of level of detail through the app settings search. So install that from the Google Play Store and then go in there and look at disabling things. Speaking of which, this is a little goosey. You may or may not want to do this. But if you notice there's this health area, what the heck, let's just go this way. There's these health apps, right? The heart rate only activates when you turn it on and tap to measure, and then the diodes come on and whoa. You notice there's two of them in the plus version of this. There's only one in the D5, but the D5 Plus, whoa. And of course, you cover it and you'll get your pulse rate and all that stuff. It's eating power while it's on. Not true of the pedometer. This is always monitoring your steps. So as you walk, and something in there in the background with the watch powered up but not displayed is counting steps. Jury's out on whether disabling the pedometer actually turns off the sensor. We don't know for sure, but if you're really looking at conserving energy and you really don't ever, and I mean ever because once you disable it, you may not be able to enable it again unless you reflash the firmware, but you could go over to the all and look for pedometer, and you can disable the pedometer permanently, and then ideally it's not going to continue messing with you in terms of trying to do your steps. At least I believe it's pedometer. Well, it's not showing up, huh? Maybe it's under the health app. I guess we should get this down. There you go, the health app, which is probably both the heart rate and the pedometer. I'm not going to do it because I don't trust it, but you can disable that whole thing. If you launch it, it brings it up, and so it's integrated in there. That's part of the integration within the watch. It's different for each watch, but this particular class of watch, if you can turn off pedometer by itself, you might consider doing that. I got it on that short timeout now, which is really great. So we've pretty much covered everything. Display is the biggest power eater. Disable it. Your radios come in next. Turn them off, go into airport mode. Any background apps that you've got, scroll to the bottom, recent apps, close all, and clear them. If you don't need the background apps that run, like WhatsApp or Facebook, disable them or delete them if they've been installed separately. And you're well on your way to a watch that you can turn on when you need to. It will turn off 15 seconds later if you have it set correctly. It's using as black a display as possible, as minimum amount of energy as necessary. You've cycled your battery, you've seasoned it, you're set to go, and now you should easily get a day and a half, maybe two. What's your results? Post them if you don't mind in the comments to this video, because a lot of people keep asking, how's the battery life? Identify what watch you're using, what your experience has been, good or bad, and help us all out to understand how we can improve to get better battery life out of our watches. One more thing, if you go into settings and you go into power savings, you have the opportunity to add power savings to all the other things that we've done. Now, it's possible that by turning power savings on, we actually undo some of what we've already done because we've been very, very aggressive on cutting power so far. However, good practice to turn it on. After opening the power saving mode, the system will turn off your Wi-Fi, mobile data, Bluetooth, GPS, and other functions. So it sounds like it's turning on airplane mode. But nonetheless, there we go. They've already been off. This is that one about flipping to brighten the screen. We already have that off. We want to leave it that way. And this one says off screen automatically disconnected. Off screen, when the screen is off, your background stuff is automatically disconnected. Yes, you want that for power savings. And so any apps that are running in the background will be turned off. Well, I've been pretty rough on you so far, guiding you to throw about everything, including the kitchen sink, out. And some of you might be going, why bother getting a smartwatch if everything is turned off? And I need at least 2, 3, 5 days of power. What can I do? Well, the first thing you can do is be really selective in which watch you buy. Here's what I mean. This is a little bit of a clip I made over a year ago. You remember that old Lara Croft movie Tomb Raider? Let's use it as an example to talk about where it appears the smartwatch industry is headed and why they may start waking up and changing. Here's a scene from the very beginning of the movie where Laura first encounters the robot. And what's she gonna do? Well, she's Laura Croft. She's got double guns, loaded for bear. She can take this guy on. But now watch this. Watch carefully. What's she about to do? She ejected her batteries, folks, and she's about to load up new ones. That's what I'm talking about, right there. And she's ready to go. What we need in the smartphone industry that is missing is a change in attitude. They're sending us out the door as if we are going to be with a tiny little cap pistol, and when we're out of caps, we're out of juice. What we really need is the ability to run powerful, battery-hungry apps like OK Google that works anytime, like a watch that you can just lift up and it comes on, or better yet, the display is always on. But none of that's available right now because we're all so scared we're going to run out of battery juice. It's not rocket science to take an existing phone like the Z15, which I've already unscrewed, but imagine that this cap were able to open up and you were able to pop out the battery, and in about a minute or two, grab another one, pop it in, slap it down, and you'd be good to go with a fresh battery. I mean, that's what I do with my smartphone. My smartphone is the LG G3, right? Here's my wallet. When I open up my wallet, inside, look at what I've got. A 3,000 milliamp LG battery stuck inside my wallet, fits inside my pocket, and if I run out of juice, yeah, it's a little challenging. I have to turn it all the way off, take it apart, take the case off, put the battery in, put the old one back in my wallet and turn it on. But I'm willing because I need the phone. Well, I need the watch too. Now this is getting a little closer. This is that S19 ZGPAX that we were talking about earlier. This is falling apart in my hand. It's got a tiny little battery too. It's 450 milliamp hours. Look how small they're getting, and higher capacity. That's going to continue. However, this little battery sits in here, and this case just snaps. I put it in here, and it's got a little snap right there, and I snap it down. If I want to change batteries, click, click, take it off, take it out, put a new one in, slap it back together, and I'm on the road again. That's all available right now. What I'm talking about, folks, is creating a new kind of watch that has perhaps a button on the side, like you have the slot here, a little button or a little latch or something that lets us open it up, take the battery out. It has a little backup battery, so you don't have to turn the thing all the way off and turn it all the way on. The backup battery, charged by this one, would last maybe for a couple of minutes while you could put in your new battery. And you just simply take your battery with you wherever you go. In fact, the thing should ship with an installed battery and one or two extras as spares. Quickly removable, replaceable batteries. That would be awesome. Now, the watches you just saw are relatively old. What's changed in the past year? We have a couple of watches out now that are rectangular in shape, and they do indeed have replaceable batteries. In fact, the new versions that you see here with a snap-off back that holds really tight, they don't just drop in like this. Some of these earlier watches, if there was a tiny vibration, they would be a disconnect and the watch would just suddenly die and you'd have to reboot it. No, these newer ones now, they have removable batteries. Wow, my watch is on even. Okay. And they're clipped in. You see the little clip right there? So you can remove and replace the battery simply by pulling up on the clip and putting in a new one, then closing it back up again. Simple as that. So you can choose a watch that has removable batteries. Same thing. That was the Final Q1 watch. And here's the number 1 D6 watch, which is also rectangular. Same kind of snap-on, same kind of pull-up, easily removable battery. See? Pop a new one in, you're good to go. However, have you ever tried to find one of these? Not easy, folks. In fact, it's so not easy that I'm inviting any of you that can find a buying source to give us the information, the company, and the link to purchase these replaceable batteries for any of the watches, but in particular the rectangular D6 from number 1 and the Q1 from Final. There's a Q3 out now, so I'm all confused with the names and numbers. That's the first thing, is get yourself a watch that has removable batteries and get yourself 1 or 2 extra removable batteries. Well, you're not interested in these square watches. I understand. That's okay. You want to get a round watch? That's fine. Get yourself an extra dock station or 2. All right? Same problem. Where do you get these things? Come on, people. Help us. Put in the links below if you have found and are buying an extra dock for whatever watch. This happens to be the Z-Blaze Blitz one. This happens to be, I can tell by the pin out, the original D5, number 1 D5 cradle. There are all kinds of different cradles. So the smart thing to do is order your watch, which comes with 1, and then buy an extra 1 or 2. Have 1 at the office, 1 in the car, because you can charge it with a USB to car adapter. And what you do is you use your watch, and as it runs down and you have a bathroom break or a lunch break or whenever you don't need it, you take it off, put it in your dock that's plugged in to charge, and you give it a quick boost. That way you can kind of run it between charges to get it through the day. Still not convenient enough for you? All right. Keep your original dock, take it with you, and then get yourself one of these mobile power things. You just plug in the battery to the end here, take the output with your little USB cable like that, right? And connect it into your dock, if it's a dockable kind, wherever it is, right? And slap your watch into it, turn it on, and it will suck charge from here into there, and it can charge your battery. Now you can do that anytime, anywhere, because you've got it. They come in different flavors, different sizes, different powers, long, thin ones. It would really be cool if they even had some that you could put on your arm. We showed you one watch that has its cradle designed that way with an extra battery backup. But whatever you choose to do, there are ways of getting extra power into your watch, and you can do it that way. So be creative, be selective in what you choose as a watch. Look at the power rating on the battery, although that's not necessarily a guarantee of how long it's going to last, and choose wisely the watch that you want. If you can get one that has removable batteries and you can find an extra battery, that's the best way to go. Other than that, you just need to practice the conservative tactics we've taught you in this video to get the most life out of your watch as you can. Again, this is a big invitation to all of you. I ask you to leave comments from time to time, but this one I'm really serious about. Please, if any of you, have any experience with the battery life on your particular watch, share with us. I have way too many watches to go out and test every one of them on their life cycle, whether they're used conservatively or aggressively. I just can't do it myself. But you've got a watch, and you got good or bad results, so please let us know what's your experience with your watch, how heavily you're using it, and how much life you're getting out of it. Also, if any of you get links to be able to buy extra batteries for the watches that have replaceable ones, extra docks for those of you that that's a back, sorry. Well, you could even try to buy an extra back. You can see some of them, like this one already, are cracking. Not a good thing. These are not made very well. But definitely extra docks. If you can get an extra dock for your watch, let us know where are you buying it, so that we can all go in and share and pick up extra parts that we need to make these watches work. And that, folks, is the second most asked question. What about battery life for a smartwatch? I hope this helps, at least helps you conserve your battery.